Okay, region modding a TG-16 board is easier than doing a Duo because I end up not having to cut any of the pins on the hue card connector. And it's not only frustrating, but kind of nerve-wracking, because if you mess these up, you're screwed. I've actually broken pins off right up against the plastic up here, and actually had to shave some plastic away just enough to get soldered to that pin. I'll tell you what, I was scared. I mean, that was a Duo connector. I don't know, they might be interchangeable between the TG-16 and the Duo. They look pretty similar, but anyway, if you can avoid cutting these pins, yeah, I would too. So basically what I do is I have my little region mod board here, which is what I use now. It's a one chip solution. That circuit board is my design. It's basically specially designed so that all the ribbon cable going from the hue card slot to the board and from the board to the connectors over here can all be in line, so you don't have to well, because of that chip, you don't have to put different conductors to different holes on the board itself to make it right. They can just all be soldered right down 8 in a row. And then off to this side is where my power and ground and then the 3 leads for the actual switch go off. And this is just a single pole double throw. All it does is send power or ground to the pin, one of the pins on the chip. So easy enough. Solder the ribbon cable to the hue card, and then you're going to cut 8. Sorry about that. You're going to cut 8 traces behind the hue card here. I might actually break out the magnifying lens for this, but once you know where they're at, it's fairly easy to figure out. It's just these 8 traces here. They go from the pins back over here, what looks like a resistor array, and then I think 15 is this pin over here, but this is not 15 over here, it's right here. So they reverse themselves right here. But basically just cut away those traces right there, and that's what will avoid cutting the pins on the hue card connector itself. On the Duo, I haven't really found an option how to do this. So you're going to cut the pins, and then you're going to bend them up, and then the ones up here will be hue card, and the ones down on the circuit board will be the board. So it's a little bit, that's for that reason it's quite a bit easier on the TG-16 board. And then find a place to mount your switch, and that's it. I think we're going to try mounting on the RF adapter. I've already gutted it here, and then there's a 3/4 channel select switch off on the left side of the console, and there's a little cutout right here that is perfect for putting that switch into it. So I'm going to continue on and try to get this finished up a little bit here, and then I'll take some video of how that looks after it's been mounted. The switch itself, I'm going to have to cut away. There's like a couple ribs right here I'll have to cut away in order to get the actuator lever on the switch itself to stick out far enough where you can move it with your finger. If I don't cut that plastic, it's just below flush right there. So I cut those ribs out, and it'll be just enough sticking out. You can get your finger on it real easy. I think we're also going to, the reason I've gutted this is we're going to remove that jack and have a TRRS AV mod right there. So you'll also see that. Okay, on the TRRS mod, basically all I had to do was crush off the RCA jack, and it came right out. It just kind of really soldered on to the RF box. And then I took my unibit like that, and took it out to 3/8, I believe, and was able to push in the jack that I use with ease. I just have a wire going down to the inside of the box for ground. Too far. If you can see that or not. Yeah, there you go. And then composite video is actually pulled from this resistor right here. Looks like 127 possibly. On that side of 127. And then right and left audio comes down to these two resistors here. Looks like 114 and 115, and I believe 114 is right audio. As you can see on the other side of those resistors, they are connected together, and I'm assuming from there is where they go back off to the pin for the audio input for the RF. So that's where you can pull stereo if you don't want to pull it from the connector on the back. All this really does is, it's the same. I mean, I traced out from that connector back to these points, so there's perfect continuity there, so you can pull from these just fine. It's just now I have shorter leads going to the jack. Give you a little better idea where I pull composite video from. And then stereo. Here's an inside look at what I did with the switch. I had to drill the hole out where the 3/4 select switch was. Actually ended up taking it to 3/8 just so the contacts on the back of the region switch were not touching the metal case or the old RF modulator. And then it's just a little bit of hot glue to keep it in there. That's what they're going to look like from the outside. Getting it buttoned up and get some more video of it running. Okay, on the top cover, basically you pull the sticker off and you cut out a square underneath of it. I push that, I can take this sticker off real easy. I basically I line up the top and bottom and sides where the text is, and then cut the hole out according to that. It doesn't have to be spot on. Just put it on there and make sure you can actually see all the text from the bottom, and you'll be fine. And then once that hole is there, then you can lay your RF shield in there, and then from the top you can draw a square in marker on the RF shield. Okay, and then I'm using 5mm LEDs with a fairly wide dispersal pattern for the light, and I'm using 6 of them, mostly because that square lands right on the heatsink, and if you used 5, one of them would land right on the edge, right in the middle. The middle of the LED would be right on the line of that heatsink, so I went to 6 just so I could space them out evenly and have 2 on the heatsink and then 4 down on the regular RF shield. I think I spaced them about 10mm apart, and you would think the outsides would be 5mm from the outside, but just because of the heatsink over here, you had to kind of fudge it a little bit, but overall it's not bad. And then I think I started with a fairly small drill bit. Of course, all I did was measure top and bottoms like 9/16, so you come in here and you go 9/32 up and draw a line in the middle, to get your just to orient them in the middle, and then 10 millimeters apart. And then I started with I think it's the same drill bit I use for the T1 LED. I can't remember what size it is, but just start with a small pilot drill. If you have a center punch or an automatic punch, it really helps with sheet metal, so your drill bit doesn't walk. All it really does is creates a tiny little divot in the sheet metal. And then once I have the pilot hole, I go back with a 5mm drill and get them to the same size as the LED. I'm not real worried about press fit. They seem to hold pretty well in there because I've basically soldered them together. Let me zoom in a little bit for you. All the negative and positive leads are soldered together, and then I have a 15 ohm in series. I have it on the negative leg. It doesn't really matter which leg you put it on, honestly. And then my lead goes over to 5 volts and ground. So basically whenever this console powers on, it'll power the LEDs and light up the logo. You definitely have to cover it with some electrical tape because it will come in contact with all the circuitry on the board. It doesn't really matter where you pull power. I just happen to know power and ground are right over here where I wired up the region switch, and then it'll just sit on there like that. This will be the top part, and I don't think I can really get that on camera, but you'll notice there's hardly any room down in there in between the motherboard and the LEDs, so you definitely have to put some electrical tape on there. I'm not real sure about how much clearance is in between the LEDs and the actual logo. Probably more than I think because it's got a little bit of a dome shape to the top of it. So if your LEDs stick up through the sheet metal a little bit, probably not an issue. As a matter of fact, if you get your RF shield stuck down onto the motherboard and it seems like it's hitting, you could actually push them up a little bit just to make sure there ain't going to be any contact. Kind of feels like I'm fairly okay where it's at, so I might look at that later, but that's basically all that I do for the logo lit TG-16 mod. It's pretty labor intensive. Measuring out and drilling the holes in the sheet metal sucks. Trying to get the square in the top shell is actually fairly easy. Just drill a few big holes and then cut the rest out with an X-Acto knife. This time I actually used my soldering iron. I've got a tip that has kind of a blade on it. I got like 4 or 5 of these blades, and I had one that was probably no good anymore for soldering, so I just stuck that on there and basically melted the lines in the plastic and was able to push it out. That worked okay. Don't really recommend it every time. The melted plastic will bubble up and basically adheres itself to plastic that you want to stay flat. So I had to do quite a bit of trimming afterwards, but I used to just drill big holes and cut it out to the lines that I had made with a X-Acto knife afterwards. They worked okay, it just took a little more time. That's it. Seems easy, but do it a couple times and let me know how easy it really is. Okay, we're all put back together. Do some final testing here. US U card. Here's work fine. Logo lit LED, or LED lit logo. Japanese U card. Hit the switch. Looks like we're all good. Pack it up and ship it out. Get some close-up shots of the TRRS mod for you. Okay, this is kind of what it looks like on the side here. You can see the region switch sticks out just enough that you can get your finger on it. Of course, the RF cord always stuck out here anyway, but so you get another extra couple inches of clearance on the side that you need. But this was easier to install than putting the RCA jacks on the back over here like I normally do, just because of the RF shielding and everything on the inside. And it's a little cleaner and more stock looking, especially with the switch right there. If I turn it off and pull this out, get an idea what the connector looks like inside there. I thought about painting it black, but it's such a big opening you can still see the silver of the RF box also. If I cover the light, you get a better idea of the difference in gray and black right there. But there you have it.